Today, Jesus pulls back the curtain on the kingdom of heaven, not with grand speeches, but with simple, powerful parables. Good morning. I'm David, and thank you for joining me for another episode of The Late Disciple. In Matthew chapter 13, we're introduced to Jesus' use of parables as he shares his message with large crowds. The use of parables in this time period wasn't unusual, but in general practice, it was pretty obvious what the thought or message the storyteller was conveying when employing this storytelling technique. But in the case of Jesus' messaging, the parables were more nuanced, and this prompted his disciples to ask him why he used parables when speaking to people. The surprising answer is that Jesus was concealing the truth of his message from non-believers. And by non-believers, I don't mean those who haven't yet been saved, but instead the hard-hearted, those who didn't want to understand. On the other hand, those who do want to understand will dig deeper into the parables to seek their meaning, or ask questions like the disciples did. In short, Jesus' answer was, because not everyone is meant to understand the secrets of the kingdom. In each of these stories, from a farmer scattering seeds to a merchant searching for pearls, we get a deeper look into how God's kingdom works, how it finds roots, starts small, grows quietly, faces resistance, demands everything, and ends in a final separation. These aren't just random illustrations, they're a connected blueprint of what it means to live under the rule of heaven. Let's unpack how these parables reveal the mystery and the mission of the kingdom. We begin with one of Jesus' most well-known parables, the parable of the sower. Why does Jesus open with this story? Because before the kingdom can grow, it has to be received. Let's take a closer look at how the condition of our hearts determines whether the seed of God's Word takes root or gets snatched away. Jesus paints a picture of a farmer scattering seed on different types of soil. Some falls on hard paths, some on shallow or thorny ground, and some on good soil. This is about the condition of our hearts. When the seed fell upon the hard path, birds came and ate the seeds. This illustrates the hard-hearted who hear about God, but they're too closed-minded or unwilling to grasp the message. When the seed fell upon rocky ground, there was quick growth, but followed by withering as the sun rose. This represents those who initially receive the message with joy, but as soon as they face trials or hardships, they lose their superficial faith. When the seed fell upon thorny ground, their growth was choked by the thorns growing among them, and this indicates those who hear the message but eventually fall from faith due to worldly concerns like the pursuit of wealth, success, or pleasure, which they prioritize over God. And lastly, when the seed falls upon good soil, it takes root and thrives. Clearly, this represents those who hear the message, understand and embrace it, allowing it to transform their lives through faith. But even when the word takes root, not everything that grows is from God. Jesus shifts to another parable, the weeds among the wheat, where we learn that the kingdom isn't immune to opposition. Good and evil will grow side by side, but a time of reckoning is coming. In this story, a farmer plants his wheat, but in the night, an enemy plants weeds among the wheat. So when the wheat begins to grow, it's surrounded by weeds, requiring them to separate the weeds so they could harvest the wheat. The farmer instructs his workers not to remove the weeds while the wheat is still growing, because they might damage the wheat, and instead harvest them all at once after the wheat is grown, then separate them and burn the weeds. Here's an interesting fact. Darnel is a type of weed that's nearly indistinguishable from wheat until the head matures. So, sowing darnel into someone's wheat field was indeed an insidious method of destroying their livelihood as a farmer. Was this a common occurrence at the time? I really don't know, but I wouldn't rule it out. In this story, the wheat represents the children of the kingdom, while the weeds are the children of Satan, and they're both living side by side, nearly indistinguishable from each other. When the time of reckoning comes, the evil will burn as do the weeds in this parable. From here, Jesus tells us even the smallest seed, a mustard seed in this example, under the right circumstances can grow into a tree in which birds can rest on its branches. This is an illustration that shows that the kingdom may start small and seem insignificant, but its impact will grow far beyond what anyone expects. This is the surprising power of God's plan unfolding in quiet strength. And not only is the kingdom growing outwardly, it's also growing inwardly. When telling of a woman working yeast into 60 pounds of flour, Jesus is expressing that, like leaven hidden in dough, the kingdom transforms from the inside out, influencing everything it touches, even when you can't see it happening right away. Then Jesus moves from how the kingdom grows to how we should respond to it. In the parable of the hidden treasure, a man stumbles upon something so valuable that he joyfully gives up everything to claim it. That's the kind of worth that the kingdom holds. It's worth everything. And in case we miss the point, Jesus tells it again from a different angle. This time, it's not stumbled upon, it's searched for. A merchant finds the finest pearl, and like the man with the treasure, he gives up everything. Whether you're seeking or surprised, when you find the kingdom, you know it. But just like the weeds, not everything in the kingdom's net is genuine. Jesus ends the main parables with a warning, the parable of the Dragnet. At the end of the age, there will be a sorting, righteous and wicked, side by side now, but not forever. Judgment is real, and it's coming. After teaching the crowd in parables, Jesus returns to his hometown of Nazareth, but instead of being welcomed, he's met with skepticism. The people are astonished by his wisdom and miraculous power, but they just can't get past the fact that he's someone they grew up with. He's the carpenter's son. When they ask, "Isn't he the son of Mary?" that's an insult in itself, because even though his father was no longer alive, traditionally he still would have been referred to as Joseph's son. Their familiarity with Jesus blinds them to his true identity. As a result, Jesus doesn't perform many miracles here because of their unbelief. This passage reveals a powerful truth. Proximity to Jesus doesn't guarantee faith. The people of Nazareth had access to Jesus, knew him personally, and still they rejected him. Their hardened hearts and unwillingness to believe prevented them from experiencing the fullness of what he could do. It's a sobering reminder that faith isn't about physical closeness. It's about spiritual openness. Luke goes into more detail in this encounter in Nazareth, so we'll revisit this again in the future. But for now, we'll close our discussion of chapter 13 of the book of Matthew. Next week, we'll learn of the tragic end of John the Baptist and some incredible miracles performed by Jesus. I hope you'll join me for that discussion. If you enjoyed this video, please press the like and subscribe buttons. Feel free to leave comments with questions or observations. And as always, remember, we are all disciples. It is never too late.